Hello. Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the court of the Edijester. Good morning, good people. How are we? What have we got for you today? Well, today it's all eco-friendly, green. So we're talking, tree hugging, grass, and all the usual. The Green Party conference captured everything wrong with the modern hard left. This is what the headline is from the Telegraph today. And it's speaking, of course, of Zack Polanski, that weird boob inflator. You may be aware of his titty inflating habits. By all accounts, he said, he can hypnotize women and make their boobies bigger. Zack Polanski. Oh, dear. Titty whisperer. He's a nut job, right? So this is in the Telegraph again today. So I've got the links for you in the Dooberies. Before I start though, become a warrior teacher. Come on, I need more people. That's the only way I keep going. If not, if you can subscribe to my Twitter or subscribe to my Substack, that would be brilliant, just to keep me bloody going. So let's crack on and see what Zack Polanski. I think this guy is an absolute Fruit Loop. Just do. I think he's as mad as a hatter. Okay, I don't know what you think. You'll tell me in the Dooberies. As usual, I am sure. So let's go. The Green Party conference captured everything wrong with the modern hard left. Courageous political leadership means telling an audience what they don't want to hear. Zack Polanski will never do that. There is little doubt, by all accounts, that's not his real name. Just before I crack on, I just thought I'd mention that. It's not his real name. He's got himself a different name. What for? What for? Why are you doing that? You grinning moron. Zack Polanski. There is little doubt Zack Polanski has had a good first few weeks. Has he? As leader of the Greens. We know this because of a plethora of similarly worded tweets on social media over the weekend, waxing lyrical about Polanski being a breath of fresh air. A leader who will tell it like it is, who doesn't equivocate or use ambiguous language. And isn't that exactly what we want in our political leaders? Isn't that what is missing from the leadership of the main parties? Well, that's the approved line anyway. It's almost as if the party has a disciplined and effective social media strategy. However, whereas Polanski is a decent media performer, and we should return in due course to the reason why he's seen as such, his deputy might be categorised under the heading of not so much. But not because Mothin Ali is a devout Muslim, for we already know that has not prevented most of the other parties from producing formidable legislators and orators who share their faith. Ali is a vulnerability for Polanski's leadership because of his extreme views, and because, despite those views, Polanski has expressed full support for him. It's just unreal. Whoever had on their cards, this joining of Islam and the left, I certainly didn't. And it's interesting to see how people are dealing with it, and then some of them aren't dealing with it so well. But Zack Polanski comes across to me as an absolute lunatic, as does, unfortunately, Mothin Ali. In a video that is no longer publicly available, I wonder why, Ali appeared to justify the pogrom by a mass terrorist of Jews in southern Israel on October the 7th, 2023, and speculated that Israel would use the pretext of the fight back by Hamas fighters, or supposedly Hamas fighters, to launch an attack on Gaza. A day later, he took to Facebook to suggest that those who condemn the murder, torture, and rape the Hamas perpetrated, as well as the kidnapping of 250 survivors, were guilty of white supremacy. So what Polanski has done, right? You got to bear in mind that most of the people that belong to the Greens give a damn about the environment. They must be looking at their party and thinking, from Amy Challoner, right, to Zack Polanski, what the hell is going on? What the hell is wrong with my party? Well, I would say that your party no longer exists in any real form in terms of being a force for good for the planet. You needn't go any further than recognising here that Zack Polanski, Boob Inflater, has actually teamed up with a hard left critical social justice, EDI, DEI nut job. White supremacy. So there's a match made in hell. Where do you think you're going to go with that lot once the public get their head around what they are? So it's like, well, everybody's got white supremacy. You're all guilty of white supremacy. Even babies in the womb. Babies in the womb suffer the extreme strength of racism and come out as supremacists. It is literally born into them. And there's Polanski in the background going, yeah, but I can make their boobies bigger. And the guy turning to Polanski and saying, can you stop talking about boobies? It's embarrassing. I'm not the one that said everybody is racist. It's going to go to hell in the handcart very shortly, okay? But Ali will survive as his party's elected deputy because, as well as being acceptable to his leader, these views are entirely shared by most of the Greens' middle-class keffiyeh-wearing membership. Whether such views will raise an eyebrow with the wider electorate is another matter, and Polanski might be advised to reduce the number of opportunities that the media have to quiz his deputy. I can imagine him back at Green Central. Now, look, it's important that Ali doesn't talk to the press, but I need to. White supremacy. Yeah, but I understand you're committed. White supremacy. This is the Green Party. White supremacy. It affects the environment. The Greens' annual conference has just wound up, and many activists are excitedly taking to their keyboards to boast about some of the radical measures that delegates approved for the party's next election manifesto. It is generally recognised that following the collapse of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the Soviet Union a couple of years later, Britain's disconsolate Marxists looked around for a new political home in which to indulge their ambitions and settled on the nascent Green Party. It was a wise choice, and their efforts have now borne fruit. This year's conference approved a series of madcap policies, the most entertaining of which was the abolition of landlords. What does that even mean? They're going to abolish landlords. I'm a landlord. You are hereby abolished. What does that mean? They're going to abolish him like they abolished slavery. What does that mean? You can't fly certain flags. That might be a good thing. They're going to abolish landlords. So your answer on a postcard, please. But there are others, including trans healthcare, anti-racism framework. There we go. It's the intersectional mob. This is where all these tree-hugging hippies from the 1970s have gone to the Greens, as well as causing trouble in the Labour Party, obviously. So there's always this shuffling around between these lunatic left cabals. It's always the same. They're always the same. They're so damn predictable. They haven't got a central message between them, have they? Apart from, give me the power and then I'll decide what I'm going to do. Oh, it's all going to be for the good of the people. Trans healthcare and anti-racism framework, the prescription of the Israeli Defense Force, and opposition to President Trump's peace plan for the Middle East. I've read the peace plan. Why would they have opposition to that? What's up with these people? This latter one is particularly notable since Green members are very keen to describe the conflict in Gaza as a genocide perpetrated by Israel. But just because there's a genocide doesn't necessarily mean they want it to end. They don't seem to want it to end. Somebody make it make sense, please. Just somebody make it make sense. Because to me, it doesn't make any sense at all. What are they doing? What are the Greens up to? Well, it's like looking through a dimensional portal to see how the Labour Party would look if Jeremy Corbyn had remained as a party leader and all his deepest, most treasured policies had been adopted by Palestinian flag-waving delegates. Jesus. For God's sake, the Greens. If you want to be taken seriously on things, you need to sort this out. What have you got? Why have you got a tit whisperer at the top of your bloody party? I don't get it. Somebody explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old. Anyway, I'm off. That's enough for today. I can only take so much of Zack Polanski, and then I have the urge to throw him down the bloody stairs. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.